In 2020, because of COVID-19, traveling is out, but there's no reason you can't meet old and make new friends at an Agile conference. The Scrum Master Toolbox podcast teamed up with Tom Henriksen to organize the 4th year of the Agile Online Summit, and you can attend for free. There will be networking events, lots of talks on important topics, and 8 amazing keynotes from Mary Poppendick to Alan Holub, Jeff Patton, who's the creator of user story mapping, Neil Killick, who's a no estimates pioneer, Jeff Watts, author of Scrum Mastery, a great book for Scrum Masters, Jeff Gotthelf, Bob Galen, and our very own Marcus Hammarberg, who's the author of the Bungsu Story, a great Agile transformation story. You can get your free tickets at bit.ly/SMAOS 2020. All lowercase, all one word. Once again, bit.ly/SMAOS 2020. All lowercase, all one word, and the link is also on the show notes. You can get your free ticket or opt for the full digital access that lets you keep all the conference videos forever. And for example, organize Agile learning sessions at work by watching those videos. You can get the full digital access at bit.ly/SMAOS 2020. But don't forget, there will be lots of live networking events, so I'll see you at the conference floor. Hello everybody, welcome to our Friday, the TGIF and Product Owner episode this week with Pieter Verbaarschott. Hi Pieter, welcome back.
Hey Vasco, how are you doing?
So the first question I have for you is about the product owner that isn't that good of a Scrum Master, of a Scrum product owner. We're talking about product owner anti-patterns. So Pieter, share with us what might have been one of the worst possible product owner anti-patterns you've had to deal with.
Well, the one that I'm dealing often with, let's say, is the Dictator product owner or mini boss or the all-powerful product owner, which is
How does that look like for the team and the Scrum Master?
Yeah, so in these situations, the product owner is micromanaging everything, right? So overstepping the role from the typical product owner role, but also doing things like explaining how stuff should be built, determining team capacity and availability, and telling everybody what to do on a given day. So in those situations, this, as we discussed earlier, probably this limits the movements of the team, right? So this limits the discovery and self-organization capabilities that every team has from developing. So I can understand from a personal perspective that some people are control freaks or micromanaging, or for whatever reasons they want to have a tight grip on every exact movement of every team member. But the damage is very, very real in terms of suppressing any self-organization capabilities in the team. So you'll be stuck with the team at the performance level that you have. So the product owner is basically halting the team in its development, but also therefore limiting their own products. It's very destructive.
So those are the consequences. But one of the things we need to share with our audience is also how to detect the beginnings of that kind of anti-pattern emerging. So in your experience, what are the signs that lead you to understand that, okay, this is the type of product owner who wants to, dictate everything, control everything? What are the signs you look for when you're, say, starting to work with a new product owner?
Exactly. So that's a really good point. So we may expect that the Scrum Master and all the development team can see these signs and is courageous enough to help the product owner to stay within their role. So that would be great. But what you could look for there, for instance, is I've had a discussion recently where someone said we focus too much on on how to build stuff in our refinements. Our product owner really wants to nail down every detail of the code, for instance, instead of leaving all that to the start of the sprint. right? In a refinement, you should be focused on describing what needs to be built without the implementation details, because you might never know how long it will take when you start. So implementation details, they get old really quickly. So these things can help a team see where a product owner wants to make decisions too early, for instance, and say we want to nail down the how together with the what needs to be built. And these are things that you can easily spot in a refinement. And this is where the team has, at least according to the Scrum Guide, all the means to say, listen, we need to understand what we need to build, and we will take care of the how. Right? That's the role that is clear in Scrum, and then the team and the product owner can discuss along those lines to make sure that they don't limit each other too much.
That for me is one of the key aspects that Scrum brings to software development, where before in a more traditional setting where you have a project manager that is typically very much technically oriented, and then you have a product manager that's or an analyst even that spends a lot of time writing the design of the feature, right? And in Scrum, we're bypassing all of that. We're actually short-circuiting that. We go from refinement, which is basically understanding what the feature is, into the actual execution of the story, where only the people who implement it define how it gets implemented and get the agreement within the team for, the parts that cross the multiple aspects of the feature. So that is for me one of the key differences. So it's great that you shared this anti-pattern, because as Scrum Masters, we really need to be aware that the moment the PO starts to say how something is implemented, we're no longer doing Scrum.
Exactly. Yeah, you could take it as strong as that. And of course, it's always a discussion. And listen, for me, I'm a Scrum Master, but I'm also 20 years a software developer. So for me, it's very easy in a team discussion around some software problem to get involved, let's say, right? But then I'm clearly overstepping my role, and I'm making it confusing for everybody and myself what my role is. So I try not to do that. And the Scrum Master should be expected to do the same thing. A product
exactly.
owner.
Step
right?
back.
So yes, figure out what we want, explain to the team what we want, and do not overstep your role in starting to be smarter than the team and telling them how to build it. Right? That's really as simple as that. So yeah.
Absolutely. All right, now we turn our attention to a much better example, we hope, which is potentially the best example of a product owner you've had to work with in your career. So share that with us, Pieter.
I've had several excellent product owners that I work with, and all very different. So I'll just explain a little bit how that was. One time we had a product owner who was very much delegating a lot of things to the team. So in the Scrum Guide, it says the product owner is finally responsible for the backlog, and that, of course, this person definitely was discussing things with the stakeholders and whatnot. But the actual backlog management and figuring out what items we would need and discovering stories directly with our customers, that was left to the team. So that's basically the opposite of a dictator product owner, let's say. That worked really well in that situation because the backlog as it appeared came directly from the customers to the team for a large part. This product owner was always present at sprint planning, and usually only at the sprint planning, which was the moment where we could bring some last minute influences and priorities and tell the team what things would be important. And that was basically it. So a lot of trust, still a good guidance on what the team needed to build. So it was a very pleasant experience. I cannot tell exactly how the product owner in that case did what he did, because he was mostly not close to the team. But it worked really well in that situation.
Actually, that's one of the things that I wanted to highlight, that sometimes a more hands-off stepping back product owner works better. Sometimes you need the product owner to be a little bit more involved, to be present during the day, to answer questions that the team has, and to look out for impediments during the daily meeting, right? Like things that might not be clear. So that's actually a great example of how these different things can be good product owners, right? And it is upon the Scrum Master to find out what is the situation and what kind of product owner would perform best in that situation, and then work with the team and the product owner to kind of come to an agreement, like how do we work together so that we get what we need from the PO.
Mm-hmm. When the team started with this PO in that situation, I also started with the team as a Scrum Master. So I didn't really know which way it would go. But I found out that I didn't have to fix anything that wasn't broken, right? It worked well. Another thing that this product owner did really well, let's say as a service for the team, was to manage stakeholders. So if we were to get in some situation with stakeholders or priorities were shifting in the company and being dumped on the team, let's say, this product owner would always step in and make it clear for everybody. So that was another good, positive product owner behavior that I really appreciate.
So that observation, that stepping back because the relationship between the PO and the team does not need to be fixed, that's also an example of a Scrum Master adapting to what is happening and knowing that sometimes no action is the best action.
Yeah, of course, this is mostly hindsight. During that whole process, well, I saw things really improving with the team all the time. So there was indeed no particular relation with the product owner that I needed to fix or that was an apparent problem. So maybe we were just very lucky there. That's also something that's hard to determine. Every team experience is unique, more or less. So I find it hard to bring experience from one situation to another situation. You have to,
and that's why it's so important to observe, right? For us as Scrum Masters, we need to know that. I usually say that you don't just work with different teams when you change teams. Like every day, the team is different, right? Somebody is in a better mood or a bad mood. The product owner is available or not available. There's an emergency that needs to be fixed in production, or there isn't. Like those are all different teams, different things that we need to be aware of.
Absolutely. And I think also that for me as a Scrum Master, it's really helpful and reassuring, let's say, that I am not someone who has to steer the team, right? I can indeed more observe and help the team. And that's also a different responsibility, right? If the team goes off the rails or the product fails, it is not necessarily because of what the Scrum Master told the team to do, because it doesn't work like that. However, as a Scrum Master, I feel the responsibility to make a team a good team. So yes, observing and bringing it back to the team, that's the only approach that you can do. But there's never a steering or commanding approach.
Yeah, especially not a solution that always works.
No, there is no silver bullet, I guess.
Yes. Pieter, it's been a pleasure. Unfortunately, we're getting close to the end of the week with you. So before we go, do share with us, where can we find out more about you and the work that you're doing?
I'm not very active on Twitter and social media normally, but I am part of the serious Scrum online community, and that my colleague Willem-Jan is one of the founders of. So what we do there is we engage in discussions among other Scrum Master and Scrum interested people. And we have weekly sessions where we have chats with other people, and we do some sessions and workshops there. So if you want to encounter me, that's the best place to come and find me, I think.
Absolutely. I will put the link to the Series Scrum Online community on the show notes so that people can easily find it, and also the links to Pieter's LinkedIn and Twitter account if you guys want to get in touch through those. So Pieter, thank you very much for being with us. Thank you for your generosity with your time and your knowledge.
Thank you. The pleasure was all mine. Thanks, Vasco.
one more week of the Scrum Master Toolbox podcast is over. But there's a lot more we have to share. We have developed our own membership site where you find a community of active and engaged Scrum Masters. In this site, you get access to exclusive content and get to interact with us, your podcast hosts, as well as the best Scrum Masters in the world. Join us at scrummastertoolbox.com/podcast and keep this podcast free of advertising. See you next week for one more week full of Scrum Master tips and tricks. We really hope you liked our show. And if you did, why not rate this podcast on Stitcher or iTunes? Share this podcast and let other Scrum Masters know about this valuable resource for their work. Remember that sharing is caring.